ordered, and then we'll
We got stung
get
by
going here.
bees.
Also, Mitch, that we love.
Like it was
Sorry.
What did you do, Mitch? What did you do along there?
I went to Taco Bell.
Not my thing.
We literally fed you.
My
We're having a chat after this. We're having a chat after this.
What did you have?
Me and Fred and Bimber went to Taco Bell too.
He was a city commissioner that had a meeting to come directly to.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
We're having a chat after this, Mitch. After tonight's meeting, we're having a chat. I haven't had a chance to chat with you since trivia was canceled, so maybe it's time.
do our 20-mile runs to try and get it done before.
No.
work or,
No.
like,
Oh, okay.
on the
They don't let you
weekend,
walk through a
So
drive-through.
that
They
we're
don't.
like be home in
That was my
time.
21st
You
birthday.
can't
People
disappear
in
for
front of me
4
now.
hours to go do it. Wives don't get happy about that. Spouses,
Did you have a marathon party?
Well, we've
oh
got
yeah,
people
yeah, we always did.
filing in here. Is everyone
It's
saying
much
lunch?
more enjoyable if you have somebody. Like, they're all
Oh, oh yeah.
Cool, cool.
And so I've got a group of like
Well,
5
see?
of us that we kind of
Karen beat you.
I'm 22, and then we
I feel like
seem
she
to add
perked.
another person.
Was she at Taco Bell?
But
too?
it's fun.
Yeah.
We show
Okay.
up at race day.
It's
Like, we're all
accountability.
Apparently should have moved my meeting to Taco Bell.
Because if it's just me training by myself,
I mean,
I'd probably get nothing.
Mitch.
You miss it. Can't
All right, I'm going to call this City Commission special meeting and study session to order for today, Monday, May 11th. All please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We begin, as always, by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the territory of the Ottawa and Chippewa peoples who have stewarded this land through the generations. Thank you for your strength and resilience in protecting this land and inspiring us to uphold our responsibilities to do the same. So with that, we are going to have our roll call, please, for Sarah.
Commissioner Shaw? Here. Commissioner Bomer?
Here.
Commissioner Anderson?
Here.
Commissioner Funk?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ness?
Here.
Commissioner Treadwell?
Here.
Mayor?
Here. And I just wanted to say real quick before we jump into announcements, we did just have a special study session as well before where we adopted our shared agreements, which are as they were in the packet, but you can check those out, and it's a foundation on which we're all building. So I'm very proud of our commission for working together to do that. So thank you all. And with that, we'll start on our next order of business here with announcements from the city manager.
I don't have any, thank you.
Okay, well, city clerk.
Yeah, I'm going to skip also.
Oh, okay, because we're all very excited for the recognition of our 2026 City Academy graduates. So I'm going to have Colleen Pavelio come up and introduce all of our new minted City Academy graduates.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Colleen Pavelio. I am the Director of Communications and Strategic Initiatives, getting used to that longer title. Ben does have an acronym for it, CSI. We'll see if it sticks. Yeah. But thank you so much for having us here tonight to honor the class of 2026 for City Academy. We'll give them a round of applause. Laura, does it feel like a year?
Yes.
Yes. I bet it does. I bet it does. Well, as many of you know, we kicked off City Academy a few years ago. This is actually the 4th year that we have done this program. And the goal of the program is these 3 items, so knowledge, community relations, and involvement. I'm grateful that I've been able to build a relationship with all these individuals, that they could build a relationship with staff, as well as build relationships with one another. I mean, that's really what it's all about, right? I know that I say my graduates because I feel like I own them, but our graduates from last year, you know, they're still gathering quarterly for some beverages here and there. And so, yeah, that makes me happy to see that everybody is still engaging as community members. Before we get started about the program, I do want to thank the city manager for supporting this program, as well as you, City Commission. This is a program that is put into the budget that you will discuss tonight. And so we really appreciate your support of this program. And we think that the ROI has been great for these citizens of Traverse City. So the class this year represented several neighborhoods, Central, Slabtown, Traverse Heights, Fernwood, Old Town, and the Commons. Thank you so much to David. I like to say he represented the East Side all by himself. So thank you, big representation there. We did shrink the class size down a little this year just to kind of open up the opportunity to have more dialogue. Just for me, it seemed 15 was too much. So we shrunk it down a bit. And it worked out really well. I think we had some good dialogue. The program is 5 weeks and it's 8 sessions. We did add a little bonus session this year, a lunch and learn with Traverse City Light and Power, so that was a great opportunity. But we did learn about city government, public safety. Here's some great pictures of these guys. Some of them were on a beta bus for the first time, which was great to get them on a beta bus. The water treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant, city garage. We planted trees at Hickory Hills. We did a downtown walking tour, learned about planning and public art, DDA, and our favorite subject, parking. They got to get in a piston bully.
I've never done one of those.
So, big opportunities here. Look at that. Who doesn't want to do that? And then we just had a session just before coming in here where these individuals were able to learn from 2 people in our community who have sat on a lot of boards as well as city commission, just what it takes to sit on a board, the time commitment of that, and how to kind of build relationships with all of you and each other even more. So I'm grateful for all of them. It's been a great 5 weeks, and I hope to see you in the future participating in city government. With that said, we have a certificate here, and then every year we go to our farmer's market and get some basil. So I hope that, we broke bread for 5 weeks and you'll continue to break bread with some, I like to say caprese, but that's because I'm Italian. But, whatever you choose with your basil. So if you can come up and you will get your certificate and grab your basil. First, we have Chris Deo. I have to say, Chris does participate on some local boards, Parks and Rec, and then you're also on Hickory Meadows, Hickory Forest.
Advisory Committee.
Yes, so thank you for all your work. Thank you. Congratulations. Whoops, sorry. Yeah, yes, thank you. Okay, next we have Michael Hughes. Hayes. Oh, I'm sorry. Spelled right here. Come on up, Mike. Congratulations. Yeah, it was fun. Thank you so much. Enjoy the basil. All right, next we have Billy McMullen. Billy, come on up. Thank you, Billy. Billy works remote. We're really glad that we could have him and have this, social interaction with him. Here we go. All right, next we have David Richardson. Congratulations, David. Thank you so much. Yep, don't forget your basil. Next we have Thomas Scott. Congratulations, thank you so much for everything, yeah. All right, Winifred Scott. No, Winifred, no, Simpson. Sorry. Thank you so much. And Winnie also participates on the joint,
Commons Joint Planning Commission.
yes,
Oh, nice.
Yes. Thank you, Winnie. Okay, we have Jill Sterling. All right, next we have Emily Taphouse. Thank you so much. All right. And lastly, we have, you okay? We have Rick Venner. A familiar face, Rick. Thank you so much, Rick. Yeah.
Tom did a great job.
Oh.
Thanks. All right. Okay. All right. That's really it. I just am so grateful for all of you and the support again. And applications will be available February 1st, 2027, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you, Colleen, for always organizing that for us, and thank you for everybody who participates and gives up your time to learn more about city government. Once you've taken that sewage treatment plant tour, you'll never go back from not caring anymore. And we see what happens when people graduate from it on all our boards and even up here. So we look forward to seeing you up on the dais soon. I know, no pressure.
No
but.
pressure.
So with that, we'll go ahead and get into our agenda, which I know you will all be sitting here actively waiting for now that you're all engaged, as we discuss our, I'm going to get it wrong all the time, CDBG funding. Got the acronym right this time. So I'll
Yes.
have you take that off.
Thank you. Yes, Leslie Sichterman's our Deputy Planner and Sustainability Coordinator, and she'll provide a brief overview of what is included in the draft plan that is recommended for your adoption. And this is the second of 2 public hearings. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Leslie.
Sure, thank you. So this is our 3rd year of our 5-year consolidated plan. This 3rd year represents 370,000 and change in spending. And similar to prior years, it's split between housing goals, community and economic development goals, homelessness, and some program administration. The biggest project called for this year is a sidewalk project, which is a stretch of sidewalk along Garfield Avenue that is the west side of the street opposite the stretch that's being paid for with other funding, so we can have sidewalk on both sides of that street. We were encouraged by our HUD representatives to look for projects like that in the short term to get us through our program administration and to get more projects funded more quickly. But we have other things in the works that we're trying to also fund. This also represents includes some public service spending that is limited to 15% of our total budget. So that's, as in the past, some staffing, but also may include some rental assistance. So anyway, there's a full document. It's been up and available for the public to review for the last 30 days, last 30 days plus. And we also did have some sessions and input with some of the stakeholders that are our subrecipients and also service providers who help to inform this plan. So happy to answer any questions.
Do we have questions from the commission? Go ahead, Jackie.
Thank you so much for your work on this. I wondered if you could talk us through a little bit of the decision to allocate the largest chunk of funding to the sidewalk project as opposed to rental assistance, for instance.
So rental assistance is one of those things that is capped. So we can only spend so much on rental assistance. You know, it's a little bit hard to find the right combination of projects that fit the HUD guidelines that also can be funded and meet our needs. So we have a few ideas for things that might require a little bit more groundwork before we can get them up and running. But this was a project that seemed to fit the bill for this year.
Thank you.
Other questions? Go ahead, Heather.
No questions, but I'd make the motion.
I have to do the public hearing before the motion. I know it's a tricky, this is a weird one like that, so. No further questions? Okay, thank you, Leslie. And with that, I will now open our second public hearing. This is following a 30-day comment period, so with that, at this time, would anybody like to speak at the public hearing about the CDBG funding? Going once. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and now I will hand it over to Heather.
Okay, well, I actually thought this was a good balance between homelessness issues, housing, and the quality of life for the Traverse Heights neighborhood. So the motion is incredibly short. It says, following the public hearing, I move that we approve the 2026-2027 annual action plan.
Support.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Shaw and Mayor Pro Tem Ness. Any other comment on this? Seeing none. Any public comment on this? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all for that. And I agree, Heather, it's a nice balance, so appreciate you making that comment for us. All right, next we have our rubric for our legal services. We did go ahead and put out the RFP, but we wanted to clarify the rubric a little bit more, so we have this before us. So I'll open this up. Lauren, did you want to say anything on it, or? Use your
No,
mic.
I just tried to kind of capture, oh, I'm sorry. I tried to capture the request for a little bit more clarification on the minimum qualifications, and put that as an asterisk. And then, like I said before, I didn't assign any points or anything like that. That's really more up to the city commission. If you want to even use points, you don't have to. You can use it just as, a note-taking tool as well to help you gather your thoughts as you go through the proposals. So I don't have anything else.
Go ahead, Ken.
I kind of thought that, like, establishing some sort of point or ranking our number one choice, and possibly, we don't know how many we're going to see and how many that we would potentially want to interview from all the potential applicants. So I thought possibly putting in some sort of scoring, just if 7 apply, 1 through 7 in all the different categories, and then potentially, and then add all those up and interview the top 3. And I'm just throwing out ideas right now.
Sure, I like that. Other ideas before I start summarizing? Yeah.
Well, I think I would do, like a clue game, I'm gonna, I'm gonna do my own scoring. Can't everybody do their own scoring? And then
we can.
then we come back and say, well, these are my top 3.
I am not committed to any sort of particular process with this. I kind of like that. Maybe we all kind of find our top 3 and then see if there's consensus among that.
So with that, and just to clarify with you both, are we thinking that these would be presented to us in the packets in an email, or where we have it at a study session or a meeting? I just want to figure out how you want to do that and then move on to a public, would it be, we get the criteria, see how it matches up, all of us rank and send it into, the clerk, and then from there pick the top 3 based on that
In a
rubric,
public
or
meeting?
would you like to more have more
Or
discussion?
discussion.
Yeah, go ahead, Jackie.
One suggestion might be to ask for some administrative help in filling in the blanks here. If there's agreement that these are the decision factors that we want to consider, and I don't know what is a realistic number of responses that we may get to the RFP, but if there's 20, and it makes not much sense to me to have each of us, scoring 20 of them times 7. I would suggest that we have some sort of a factual gathering stage before it gets turned over to us.
Okay,
I'm
Lauren,
sorry.
go ahead.
We certainly can kind of fill these in, so you don't have to hand pack, through each of the, and pull out the information and fill in the rubric for you with the factual information. And then we can send you that as a packet with all of them for those who want to read the whole proposal.
And that's
Yes.
where I was going to say, this is where I would say, much like an RFP that comes to the city, to have the city staff do that, and then come to us, since this is ultimately our decision. I don't want to have them have too much of a finger on, or a thumb on the scale, just making sure that the i's are dotted and t's are crossed, basically. And then from there, it is kind of our process. Laura, and then Heather?
Yeah, I was going to make a similar comment. I think, the administrative part clearly could be done just to kind of relieve us of sifting through each of those proposals, but I'd like to see those blanks filled in, and then any firms that didn't meet the minimum qualifications, that should be noted so that we're aware of that. And then it makes sense to, if that's sent out in a packet, giving each of us the opportunity to do that kind of ranked choice voting ahead of the public meeting would make more sense, I think, than us doing it all together, if the group's comfortable with that.
Is that?
I wanted a process that would respect the timeline that Lauren had kind of put into place, so that we can maintain that, because I do think that's going to be important, as whoever we select, that they have that time to get some, we were shooting for 2 weeks, 2 weeks of FaceTime and kind of handing over the reins. So
Heather, you had your hand up,
Yeah.
sorry then.
I just want to clarify, this is all objective,
Right.
not subjective. This is like hourly rate, ethics, so
yeah.
just to make it totally clear to everyone that.
Correct.
That you're not filling in blanks with your own.
Right.
No, we would just pull out those items from the proposals. Yep.
So one question I had, and it was kind of addressed in here, and it was brought up during the agenda review, was, we have on here 3 asterisks seemingly for 1 column, which is the 5 years of experience practicing attorney, the attorney assigned to work on the tribunal has a certain amount of experience, and labor has a certain amount. What I wanted to ask for clarification on, which to me is where I would say is, if a firm applies and doesn't have labor and tax, to me that makes them not qualified, right? We're looking for somebody who's going to have the complete package, because if not, we're getting into piecemealing out again, and the kind of the point of this is to take us through. And so that I'm clarifying if that's what everybody else is looking at, and also if that is what we're looking at, are those, and I know, Lauren, you did look at this, are there other, knowing, we've kind of talked about this, when we hire a firm, there might be one who is our primary, but they might bring in these specialists. So the person that's our primary might not be the tax tribunal expert, but that they have a tax tribunal person on roster. And so I guess that's where I want some clarification, or are we just going to mark it like there's 5 possible points for your bench, but if you're missing 2 of them, we might only give you 3 points versus the full 5. Jackie and then Heather.
Just to clarify, I don't know that I had an expectation that we would not be using any outside specialized counsel. I know, for instance, there's an oil and gas specialist that we aren't likely to be able to replicate within a municipal law firm. So I was envisioning something more flexible, but I'd love to hear from everyone else and see what their thoughts were.
Heather, were you going to comment on that too? Or go ahead, you're next up, and then we can go
I
back.
think that all of these things are, whoever's working with us, with the city, even if they're from a firm, they have to have the tax, they have to have the labor, and they have to have the municipal experience too.
Municipal's
I don't think
huge.
that we can just have someone who's coming from, it says other government experience. Well, I think municipal experience is.
Okay.
Yeah, and to clarify, Jackie, and this might be where we just leave it open on the rubric, but I would be looking for somebody who has a deep bench, so that we're not then going back and scrambling around and figuring out, okay, well, we still have a contract with this person. We've established through many conversations, and I know you're laughing about it too, Jackie, oil and gas is oil and gas, and they are an entity all on their own. So we can't, if we found a unicorn that had that, probably would score off the charts. But as far as everything else, because we will be talking about zoning, and we will be talking about some other things along the way that I don't think we want to get into having to, I would rank higher if we don't have to get into piecemealing that out a ton. Go ahead, Lance.
Yeah, and I would just want to address that as well. Whenever you hire something like this, if that person now has to go hire somebody else, your contractors are subcontracting, and now you've got a fee on top of a fee, on top of a fee with a percentage of an increase in fee, and so it's just kind of like we're spending a lot of money extra, but I think we'll be able to find somebody who's got a deep bench, hopefully. And
Yeah.
If they need to go out, if they need to go out and find oil and gas, for example, like there's the one lawyer in Michigan.
We have our oil and gas. He's ours.
There's
Just
two.
kidding.
Yeah.
We have ours. He's ours.
Yeah, we do. So,
Mitch, go
But-
ahead.
Yeah, to that point, we are specifically hiring a firm as a placeholder. We are not saying we are hiring you as a specific individual attorney to be in the office for the next 10 years. I am seeing this as hopefully we can get a firm that has enough in-house experience that they're able to handle, even if it's not in one person, all the various aspects of law that are needed by this. But it also will provide some framework for a longer-term vision about what we do want in one person.
And or is it, do we still want one person? Because we might find that, no, our present company here, in all due respect, that putting all of that on one person in the future isn't realistic for what the caseload that we have here. And maybe it's a hybrid, maybe it's a firm only, maybe it's one person again. But that's part of, I think, the exploratory process we'll be doing while we look at this. I think, but to clarify what you just said, and I just want to make it clear, we all have talked about this, but the charter says that we have to have a main point, though. So we might have, Jane Doe as our primary, but John Smith might come in as our labor attorney. Yeah, or a tax person. So I just wanted that to be clear. If people start seeing the same person and somebody looks it up and says, well, they're municipal, but they're not tax or something, this is how our bench works. And so with that, a clarifying point, and then there was one I had, and I literally just forgot it in the middle of my sentence. So if anybody else would like to speak, please feel free, or not.
I would like to see all of the applicants laid out on this. I wouldn't want to just exclude somebody because they didn't meet the minimum qualifications, because as we talked about, they might be strong enough in one place with other great attributes that I wouldn't want to exclude them. So I really want to, go ahead.
What I would do is I would put every single applicant on the chart, and then I would know under practice areas whether they had all of them or not, so that you would have that information in front of you.
Okay.
The other thing I would say is we've done interviews for city manager and other positions over the years and some of our boards here. Application processes have to be can be confidential until we get to the finalist interviews. That is not the case for this, right?
No, because it's an RFP.
And I was just say, because it's an RFP, it's public, and I say that to say, we've had some comments about public engagement and people in our community who are engaged. At all points as this becomes public, people are always welcome to reach out for public comment or emails or anything like that. This is a decision that we're making as a body, but just like any decision we make as a body, there is always public input is allowed throughout the process. So that is still part of this process. So we will do the RFP process. We'll have the initial gradings. That'll be public. We'll have our interview process. All of that will be done publicly, just like when we're doing job applicants. It's just even more transparent, actually, because we don't have to protect people who might be like, well, if I'm not a finalist, don't let my boss know I'm looking. But that's just a clarification on the process for the public and ourselves. So anything else that we want added to this process and or the rubric while we're having this discussion right now? All right, and we don't have a motion for this, right?
Nope,
Because
you
we've
don't
already
need
got it
one.
out. So
Well,
you've got
We know
clear
what we're
instructions. Yep.
meant to do.
Fantastic. All right. Check that one off the list. And now lastly, we'll go to amending the pay scale for the ACT ahead of our budget here, and I'll let you take that, Benjamin.
Yes, thank you. Deputy City Manager Deb Allen, who I respect tremendously and has been an amazing partner with me and for the entire organization, has announced that she's going to retire as of Friday, June 12th, and I'm happy for her. I genuinely am. I'm sad for us, but Deb and I will always have a connection with each other. With that, we have an ACT, or Administrative Confidential Technical Employee Pay Scale, that's approved by the City Commission. Presently, it has 11 grades. I asked our Human Resources Director to take a look at that and make a recommendation with which I concur to add a pay scale, a grade 12, which will help us with competitive market positioning, recruitment, and retention. And I am waiting to begin recruitment for the critical role of Deputy City Manager until this is approved, so we can maximize our ability to attract the best candidates. And so it is my recommendation that you approve the motion in the packet, which would add a grade 12 to that ACT pay scale.
Do we have any questions on this first, or a motion? Go ahead, Ken.
Just a question about the scale that assigns the points that helps people fall into grades. Is where do you find that? Where does it come from? Is it?
Sure. So that was based on it's a framework, a compensation framework that was prepared by professional compensation consultants. And it takes a look at 10 different factors that range from things like education to opportunity for impact, negative and positive, the span of influence they have, the expertise that's needed, the number of employees that are under their control, complexity. There's a number of factors. And then what happens when we have a position is there's an analysis that's done that rates that job description, that role in each of those 10 factor areas. And then based on the total, because those all have a score with them, it determines what pay grade ultimately that position properly rests within.
Gotcha.
And this is a system used by like the state and even unions and others to kind of create a scale that's equitable and that everybody is, frankly, it's more transparent than just individual.
I greatly appreciate it. I think I just wanted to.
Yeah.
I want to get my hands on it, and I want to put some thought into it. It really helps as we're kind of evaluating, like even something like a rec authority administrator. It's very helpful for a
Absolutely.
tool like that to actually have it, to look at it for scoring someone, instead of just saying, I think they kind of do something like this. So,
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Sure, Jackie, and then Lance.
Right, and we always score the position and not the person.
Right.
Yes.
But I'd be happy to share that with you if you'd like, especially for your work with the rec authority.
Yeah, love that.
I'm just wondering if there were alternatives to achieving any of your recruitment and retention objectives other than addition of a grade 12 step? Any alternatives that were considered?
Not alternatives that were considered, but additional items to attract, including promotion of our flexible workplace policy, and that that's something I'll encourage the deputy city manager to embrace and model, because that's a recruitment tool and retention tool that we have, as well as opportunities for professional development and the opportunity to have an impact on some statewide committees once they get their feet under them here.
And we have a pretty good benefits
Thank you.
package, too.
Yes, an excellent benefits
Yes.
package.
Mitch, and then, oh, sorry, Lance first.
No, Mitch, if you have a question.
I figured.
I'm not expecting anybody to have the numbers right off the top of my head, even though we do have the chart at the bottom. But considering that we also have the budget discussion for future times, when we have a change in the org chart before us, I would like a rough estimate for the implication to overall labor and benefits costs.
Okay, understood, yeah.
I mean,
That
if
makes
somebody
sense.
has the number about what
don't.
this impacts, then that'd be great, but I don't think they do.
No, and part of it also depends, I mean, it would be a minimum or maximum impact is what I'd
Yes.
present, because it depends on where they fall on the, because once a pay scale is established, they can be placed at any step within that pay scale as
Yes.
determined appropriate.
Lance?
Yes. Let me get back to this.
I know.
I move that the city commission approve the addition of grade 12.
Second. Sorry, that was Heather? Yep. Great. Any further comment on this? Being-
One of the,
go
I
ahead.
was just,
No,
real
go ahead.
quick. One of the things that we've recognized over time is that it's really a crazy concept, but it makes a lot of sense, is if, in order to move up your employees at the bottom, you have to move up the top too. And it's something that I've seen it done, I recognized it, and I understood the process behind it. So this makes sense, even though it doesn't feel right. Let's pay the people at the top when we really rely on the people at the bottom the most. But to make room for the people at the bottom to move up, you have to push the top up.
Yep.
So I think it makes sense.
And acknowledging the expertise and knowledge of the people that have moved up. too.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
And, and also the fact that we are one of the most expensive cities to live in
Yes.
in the state of Michigan.
Absolutely. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion passes. Yeah, wonderful. Getting the business humming along here. All right, so we have special meeting public comment. Any public comment on, well, I guess anything, but anything under the sun? Seeing none then, I will close the special meeting, and now I will open our study session for today, May 11th, and that is going to focus solely on the budget, and so I will hand that off to you, Ben.
Yes, thank you. Of course, at your meeting on May 4th, the City Commission took action to schedule a public hearing for May 18th. That's on the proposed budget for the city for Traverse City Light and Power and the Downtown Development Authority, as well as the related tax levies. Of course, Light and Power is not part of that mix. But the City Commission can adopt the budgets as soon as next Monday, May 18th, which is the public hearing, but no later than Monday, June 1st. And that's according to the city charter. And so we've got Brandy Ekren, the Traverse City Light and Power Executive Director here, as well as Chief Financial Officer for TCLP, Carla Myers-Beeman, to present the Traverse City Light and Power proposed budget. And then they'll be followed by DDA Executive Director Harry Burkholder. And they're each planning on roughly a 15-minute presentation plus Q&A. And of course, the presentations are in your packet. And then I'll be last for the city budget. And so
Fantastic.
with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Ekren.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In the interest of efficiency, Carla's actually going to go through the presentation, and then I'll be able to help with questions.
Great.
So, all right.
I just want to start out in thanking you for the opportunity to present Traverse City Light Power's 26-27 budget. As Brandy mentioned, I'm Carla Myers-Beeman, Chief Financial Officer. So tonight we'll walk through the proposed budget, discuss the strategic priorities, driving the recommendations, review impacts to rates, and highlight how this budget positions TCLP to maintain reliability, strengthen infrastructure, manage risks responsibly, and continuing advancing our long-term community goals. So before we begin, I'd like to recognize the governance and leadership teams that help guide TCLP, strategic direction and oversight. This includes our board members, city's commissioners, Commissioner Ness and Commissioner Bomer, and city leadership, Ben Maritat on our board. Their collaboration and guidance continue to support responsible utility operations, long-term planning, and strong stewardship of public resources. Next, I would just like to touch on our budget approach. We utilize this budget approach each year. For stable operational costs, we develop using historical budgeting methods. While new initiatives and discretionary spending, we evaluate using zero-based budgeting principles, so basically starting from zero. We also incorporate risk-based prioritization to focus on investments in infrastructure reliability, cybersecurity, and operational resiliency. Finally, the budget reflects strategic investments aligned with our strategic plan with long-term utility objectives, including reliability, clean energy goals, customer programs, and fiber expansion. Overall, this approach balances fiscal responsibility with the need to continue investing in critical utility services and future system needs. So real high level, what changed, why, and what does it mean for rates and risk? First, we are proposing several strategically aligned positions to support initiatives adopted through this strategic plan. These additions are focused on long-term organizational sustainability and operation support, and there was inclusion of 6 positions. Second, we are budgeting purchase power conservatively to continue volatility in the regional energy market. This is created by weather conditions. I'm not sure if you remember the January storm, but energy increased to $1,000 per megawatt hour when it's usually around $30 to $50. Transition to energy resources. I mean, we all see the coal plants decommissioning and battery storage increasing. And then significant new load additions where data centers are popping up across the nation. This budget also includes funding for a demand response program, which aligns both with system reliability objectives and the climate action plan that was issued in 2023. In addition, we continue to comply with state of Michigan energy optimization requirements. And with that, we're investing in expanded customer education and outreach efforts. We're also continuing to strengthen operational resiliency through investments in software system, monitoring tools, insurance coverage, and preventative maintenance programs. With this budget, we are proposing a 5% base rate increase to address the utility financial needs. Although it doesn't close the small current deficit that's shown in the budget, it does help to near-term affordability with a plan that you'll see in the cash flow of future incremental adjustments in future years. We do a cost of service study every 5 years to help us plan those rates increases. We look at those each year and kind of true those up. With the next cost of service study in 27-28, we are looking at doing multi-year adjustments so we can come to you and let you know the rate increases for possibly over the next 2 years. And this will help for better planning for especially our commercial industrial rate class. So we'll move into operating revenues. This is a slide that I show every year. It shows our utility sales on top and our purchase power costs. We have a rate, which is the power service cost recovery rate. So when our wholesale costs increase, we pass that on to the customer. If our wholesale costs decrease, we pass that on to our customer. So you should see our utility sales and purchase power costs be parallel with each other, which this graph shows. On the right-hand side is our average PCR rate. It is just a component of our total rate. You can see it's increasing based on what I kind of just touched on that's happening in the energy industry that we're budgeting conservatively for. So in 25-26, we actually budgeted the average PCR rate to 0.017. It reflected a conservative budget. So you see an increase in 26-27 of 0.02. I don't think we'll reach that, but we do take a conservative approach with our purchase power costs. So even with proposed 5% rate adjustments, TCLP's projected average rate remains below the 2024 Michigan average for municipal cooperative investor-owned utilities, which is 14 cents. So this chart you can get off the internet from the U.S. Department Energy Information Administration, and it shows all the utilities within Michigan and their average rate overall. Right now in 2024, we were the 9th lowest, and then with the 2026-27 increase, we would move farther down the chart, but this is still based on the other utilities' 2024 rate. So kind of breaking down our kilowatt hour charge, we have the power supply costs at 8.46 cents, and then our capital operating costs at 4.45 cents. So the 4.45 cents includes distribution infrastructure, information systems, customer service, administration, public service functions, and capital investment. So this really illustrates that a significant portion of the rate is driven by the external power supply costs, while the remainder supports the local utility services and infrastructure customers rely on every day. This is our fiber operating revenue. In 26-27, you can see a growth in revenue that is directly tied to the Phase 2 expansion. We expect the customer growth to continually steadily increase across residential and commercial segments. This next chart just reflects the number of customers we're expecting to subscribe. We expect a 40% take rate into the late fall, early winter of 2027. Moving on to operating expenses. The Light and Power Board earlier this year approved a decarbonization policy. So our goal is 60% clean energy by 2035 and 100% by 2040. So we're well on our way. In the 26-27 fiscal year, we have 31% of our portfolio is solar energy. You'll see several projects through MPPA, and then we have some direct contracts, the M72 solar is an example. And then our wind energy represents 10% of our purchase power portfolio. The next slide shows our thermal resources over renewable. So our renewable portion increases to 44.7. So we also have some landfill, which makes up the solar and wind. A couple items of note are the Bell River coal plant that we participate in. There's 2 plants. The first plant converted to a natural gas peaker in September 2025, and the second plant is expected to convert to a gas peaker plant in September 2026. And then during this budget year, we will have the Hart Solar come online in September of 2026. Excuse me. Electric operating expenses. Overall, you can see we remain relatively stable from over the 3 past years. Distribution expense in 24-25 relates to a sustainable campus feasibility study, which was included in our capital plan. Our generation costs, which is the 3rd bar over, that increases slightly over the years, just a reallocation of personnel costs. Customer service, which is the 4th bar, that increase relating to the expansion of Hall Street, along with the customer experience study. And then we are the absorption of the utilization of credit card fees that continues to grow. The 5th bar, which is public service, that continues to grow due to increased energy optimization and electrification initiatives. Information systems, which is the dark gray, that increased due to increased staffing for cybersecurity and resilience within that department. And the last one, second to last, general administration. We added accounting and finance staff to centralize procurement and support expanding fiber operations. And then the city fee is directly tied to how much revenue we earn each year. Moving on to TCLP fiber operating expenses. This continues to increase relating to Phase 2. We have a larger FTE allocation to make sure we can operate and maintain appropriately. And then there was additional efforts in marketing communications for customer subscriptions. Moving on to the electric budget comparison from 25-26 to 26-27. Some key drivers, we have additional FTEs and distribution supporting operation excellence and system reliability. Public service investments are aligning with sustainability initiatives by state law and the Climate Action Plan. Software investments, we actually saved on that. We looked historically at our software costs and our future needs. And then administrative staffing increased for general administration, and then we're also conducting a comprehensive wage study and emphasizing professional development to support workforce sustainability. Fiber budget comparison from 25-26 to 26-27. Continue to expand marketing communication efforts and contract professional sales services. These investments are specifically designed to support sustainable fiber growth within that business. Moving on to capital. This slide highlights TCLP's historical capital investments as well as projected future capital expenditures through fiscal year 2032. The long-term capital plan reflects continued investment in electric infrastructure, modernization, reliability improvements, system resiliency, and strategic utility initiatives. The largest capital plan is the Sustainable Innovation Campus with the significant costs in fiscal year 28-29 and 29-30. So this plan is really structured to balance operational needs, financial sustainability, and long-term community benefit. Lastly, this is the TCLP fiber build-out. This provides an update on the progress to date. The color codes provide when the additional phases will be completed and ready for subscription by our customers. We are focused on delivering community-wide connectivity and long-term value to our customers. Hopefully, with this budget presentation, you learn that we are continuing to maintain system reliability, advance our strategic plan, proactively manage energy market risks, strengthen cybersecurity and operational resilience, expand fiber services, support workforce sustainability, and keep rates below state averages. As a team, it really reflects careful planning, conservative forecasting, and long-term financial stewardship. Thank you, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
I had one quick one, well, two quick ones actually. So one, by the map I'm looking at, the fiber build-out forecasted by the end of summer is what I'm seeing. For all the neighborhoods on here are either in green, which is May, yellow in June, or red by the end of summer. Just to clarify that I get that the question asked a lot, so just wanted to show everybody the maps there. It's in the packet, it's publicly out there. We're rolling along and it's really exciting, so.
Yep, that is accurate. We're trying to under-promise and over-deliver.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, it's perfect. And then I did have another question really quick. Bell River, there was at one point, I think about a year ago, or last I heard of it, there was some federal fighting of us closing down or switching over some of the plants. Has that eased off? And I saw that the projection is by September of 2026, so that is still on pace to be switching from coal only.
I'm not sure about Bell River. I think you're talking about Campbell, President.
Oh, you're right. I was thinking about Campbell. Sorry. Is that still under discussion?
So there is a DOE order, and it's continuing operating. So it operates for every 90 days.
Okay.
So it's continuing to operate.
Okay. Appreciate that. That's out of your hands, but thank you for the update. Other questions? Go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, I had one in advance, and it was about, I misstated it the first time. I wrote that rates were tripling, but it's actually the cost of energy that's tripling over the next 3 years. So could you talk about, I mean, you gave us that amazing statement that during the March snowstorm, rates went from $30 to $1,000. Oh my goodness. But if you could just talk about why you are proposing that you think this was going to happen.
Yeah. So I think I understand. So that PCR is actually just a component. So we have a base rate of $64.80 within our rate structure. So that's just the amount that's above it.
It's not the rate, though. I'm talking about cost of energy.
Yeah, sorry. So
Okay,
that's the cost of power. So
Okay.
whatever, but it's built into our rate. The power service cost recovery rate's like $65. So when the cost of power goes above that, that's the incremental increase. So actually, our rate increase went from, excuse me, the cost of power this year is expected to be like $74.81. Next year, it's supposed to be $85. And really, that's apportioned to our contracts. There's inflationary increases every year. And then with the kind of volatile energy market, we are a little bit exposed to the market. And so with that, the market rates are increasing or expected to be higher than this year.
So it's inflation, market volatility, and weather.
Yeah, there's maybe a better explanation. There's escalators in our contracts each year. Yep.
Thank you.
Other questions? Go ahead, Ken.
On page, it was the fourth slide, I had listed as page 4, but there was 6 or 7 different items. It's a habit now, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I can't
right.
not do it.
We have kids.
We
Yeah.
understand.
There was a few items listed as what and why in regard to the rate increases. And one of them was creation of new positions strategically aligned with adopted strategic plan initiatives that support long-term organizational objectives. That was the first one on our left. I'll probably asked this a few times tonight, but my understanding was the completion or successful implementation of the strategic plan objectives would be highly dependent on budget constraints and current staff capacities and capabilities. So I've seen the strategic pillars in a lot of our budget presentations. I know that those are important priorities for us. But it was one of the things that we talked about was that it's going to be within the things that we can afford. So if we are adding a lot of positions and trying to go after some of these goals aggressively, it's going to cost a lot more. And it is obviously contributing to this rate increase. I don't think that this is unreasonable. This is important that we speak to this because our community is going to say, we're paying more, but we're not bringing home more. So it's important to speak to this in that aspect. And I wanted to bring that kind of back to the discussion that we had, that, you know, the strategic initiatives were goals, but they would be constrained to, you know, financial capabilities. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up. Is there things in here that we could go without that could prevent that 5% rate increase?
And just real quick, I'll just mention that, of course, the city has our strategic action plan that
Right.
is governing, or not, it's serving as a North Star for city operations. And then Traverse City Light and Power has its own strategic
have your own
plan
strategic
that they did actually, they were ahead of us.
They were in 2023.
Yes, so.
Yeah, and then also just for clarity, the TCOP board has not actually considered the rate adjustment that we're looking at. We just, like in the interest of transparency, let you know what we're looking at planning wise. But one of the things that we prioritize when it comes to rate adjustments is we do look at affordability, the energy burden on the customers, and then we benchmark where we are not only with our rates, but basically what our customers can afford. So that also factored into our goals. So when we set strategic goals a few years ago, all of that took into account of robust stakeholder engagement as well as affordability. What you're seeing is that over the past few years, we've been slowly stepping up that as opposed to just jumping up.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
probably the reason why you're seeing that now.
Yeah, I mean, I will fight rate increases forever.
Yeah.
To the death for our residents. So I wanted to talk to it, and I didn't think it was just a number slapped on a board, on a poster or presentation. So I thank you for speaking to it. I guess we did kind of mention the fiber. I hope that this will be the last budget presentation where we talk about the implementation of fiber, because it's been
Rolled
It'll
out.
just be that it's been
Roll out.
implemented.
I really hope that we get it wrapped up this time, because it's
It's a big project, and
I
they've,
know it's a big project, and I remember the conversation, it was something that we had to do. It's something that, as part of the smart grid, that we needed to do. I just hope that we can put a bow on that thing, and
yeah.
this is the last one.
It's exciting.
Mitch, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm going to push back against some of what Commissioner Funk just said and said that, yes, 5% is an increase. It's a proposed increase. It hasn't been cooked in yet. But not only, yes, it is an increase. Yes, it is a bit above the rate of inflation currently. But not only are our current rates lower than the state average, that is a lower increase than I have heard from most other utilities that have been, especially if they found themselves a little more liable for some of the risks of the weather events that we have seen in the last 15 months, are looking at double-digit rate increases. Right now, Presque Isle Gas and Electric has a $20, $30 surcharge on every single bill every single month. And that's just because they have a frankly unsustainable debt load from the ice storm damage. Yes, there is state and federal money that will help defray those costs for the utilities, and that will also help TC Lane Power to be more resilient and our electrical partners. But I see this as a win for Traverse City that you're able to keep the increase that small.
I'll make certain that when the TCOP board does consider the rate adjustment, we factor in what's going on with the other utilities. That's a good fact point.
Other questions or comments right now? Go ahead, Jackie.
I was interested to note where Traverse City Light and Power falls on the rate comparison slide. And I know that the data that you're using here is from 2024, so there's a lag period. Am I recalling correctly that in last year's budget presentation, we were a bit like number 3 in the state for low rates as opposed to number 9, or have we shifted that much? And if so, what do you expect coming forward?
Yes, we were third at one time. You have to understand, like those top 10, there's not much difference between us.
Yeah.
So we did migrate to 9. To be honest, I think we'll probably stay right where we are when the 2026 data comes out. I think we'll probably, the blue line is where we are on the 2024 data, and then we're 9th from the top, as I mentioned earlier. But I think we'll probably stay right in that range, to be honest, because all utilities are having the same impacts as we are.
Thank you.
Any other? Well, you still have the floor, Jackie. Go ahead.
Oh, great. Well, another rate question then. I wondered if you could relay a request when rate increases are under consideration, if it's possible to look at those through the lens of specifically our fixed income and our lower income ratepayers. If they, I'm starting to get some feedback that particularly for those on fixed income, that some of the time of day, time of use rates have perhaps been impacting that portion of our ratepayers more significantly than those who are still in their work outside the home years. So if that could be part of the analysis, I would be really grateful for that.
Yeah, so last year in our budget and this year we have what is called a Customer Cares Program. It's been a little bit difficult to get it launched, but we're going to launch it very soon. And so that will help address those people that are on fixed income, where we can, help them supplement their funds to be used towards their electric bills. And that's what our plans for the future.
Yeah, and that's one of those strategic initiatives that adds value. So that's what we're funding and we're investing in. The other thing that we do, and just as a refresher, because I feel like we go through this almost every year, Carla does an excellent job of also communicating what the average bill impact is when we get to that point for the TCO board consideration. And then we are continuously observing and monitoring where customers are, not only on their ability to pay the bills, but also what their points are with their struggling. So if there is an opportunity to provide some referrals, whether they fit with some particular program, we do that on, I'm going to say even on a daily basis. So we do have that lens, but I'll make certain that we clarify that we do that when we do our presentation.
Thank you.
Anything else? Mitch?
Yes, on a forward-looking perspective, you did point to the volatility that we have seen dramatically increase over the last years, but there's been volatility in the energy sector for decades. Do you feel that we have seen, in the short term, volatility in notably oil and gas, but throughout all thermal fuels, but the tariffs that have been on-off for years have had significant impacts on wind and solar installations. So has the transition from more thermal fuels to more renewables either protected us or made us more susceptible to that volatility?
I'll definitely let Carla fill in some details where I may miss the point, but I do believe our renewable portfolio investment was something that actually, I would say, insulated us from some of this market volatility. So there's value there. The other piece just to keep in mind is when you hear about tariffs and other things that are happening politically within the market, there is a little bit of a lag before it eventually hits the rate base. So one of the things that we definitely do with that PCR, and it's just something to keep in mind, Carla talked about the pass-through, but it's a 12-month rolling average pass-through. So we smooth those impacts for the customer over the year to allow it so that they're not spiking as much as we may see that happening in the market. But the direct answer to your question, I believe that our renewable portfolio actually worked in our favor.
Good to hear.
Anything else?
Oh, good.
I would, and actually to that point, Brandy, thank you, because I was going to say, as everybody's kind of asked their questions, that first, I want to thank Lance and Laura, the current board, Brandy and both of you and the whole team, because I remember when we passed the 2040 goal about, what was it, 8 years ago, that everybody said, you guys are never going to be able to do that. That's not where nothing's there. We did that as a leap of faith of technology's advancing, the demand is changing, and to see you all kind of completing that portfolio and pushing it forward is amazing to see. But I also was going to say, I appreciate you bringing that up, that part of the reason when we were investing in the alternative energies was the conversation we had of this makes us less reliant on some of the volatile markets. And so unfortunately, we're seeing it bear out right now for everyone and all the energy costs, but I just want to thank you both for, Brandy, you've led very well, and Carla, you've been behind the numbers for as long as I've been on the Lane Power Board, and the whole team, so including our current representatives and our past, for putting us in a much better position than we could be right now, and for having that vision that's kind of becoming realized that we weren't 100% sure would be, so thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else, anybody? All right, thank you so much. We'll keep rolling around to the DDA then.
Good evening, Harry Burkholder, Executive Director of the DDA, and we're going to follow the same track for efficiency and kind of do the same presentation. I'm just going to say a few words, and I'm going to turn it over to Lauren, there she is, who's going to go through the budget. But very excited to be here and talk about upcoming projects for this year. As you know, we are governed by a 9-member board, which you appoint. The mayor sits on that board, and we have a really great mixture of people who live in downtown, own property in downtown, or have businesses in downtown. But we also have members on our board that live in the city and in the neighborhoods. We have a really good dynamic and good perspective about how downtown fits with itself, but also within the greater context of the community. In terms of what we look at as part of our budget considerations, really it's what the DDA does. It's 2 main things. The first one is implement and contribute to physical public infrastructure projects in partnership with the city. As I always mention in these presentations, we are a component unit. We can't do any projects without your approval, and so we're very much in collaboration with the city on those physical improvements. The other thing the DDA really focuses on is providing programs and services to help maintain and advance downtown to the future. All the clean and green programs and the beautification and streetscaping are all part of those services, along with trash removal and the service agreement that we have with the city that Lauren will talk about. Those are all designed to really make downtown function on a day-to-day basis and then also into the future. And then we've been part of the conversations with city staff and city leadership for quite some time. It is part of the city's capital improvement planning process, but also looking at the recently approved city strategic action plans and the OKRs that you're working with. As I mentioned before, we have a series of financial obligations and services every year that are part of our considerations. One of the biggest one is the service agreement with the city that provides services from city staff into the downtown district. We do have our own capital improvement and service priorities that we've been talking about as a DDA for the last couple of years. And those are evidenced by some of the projects that we've been working on. The one that was recently approved was the Farmers Market Pavilion and Lot B. That was one of the leading capital improvements that we've been discussing as a DDA for the last several years. And then the guiding principles, which you see here on the screen, which were developed as part of the Moving Downtown Forward planning process back in 2022, which is a very large collaborative community engagement process to talk about the future and the vision for downtown. Those are our guiding principles. So the work that we're doing should fit in at least one, if not all 5 of those guiding principles, along with the other actions that are identified in your strategic plan. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Lauren.
Hi everyone, Lauren Bohack, Deputy Director at the Downtown Development Authority. I want to apologize up front if my voice starts to fade. I'm coming over a cold and this is the strongest my voice has sounded in a week, so I'm going to try to make it brief for both of us. Just a quick overview about our budgets and the presentation. The DDA actually has 3 funds, the DDA General Fund, the TIF 97 Fund, and the Old Town TIF Fund, so we have 3 budgets that we need to review with you all. The revenue for all of those budgets are projections from the city's treasurer's office that are, come together with the same methods as the city budget uses. We currently are in the first full fiscal year of the DDA using the same accounting and budget tools that the city uses. So previously, the DDA board was used to seeing our budget presented more in a spreadsheet format. So I've sort of merged the two in the images here to try to fit them together for both of you, or for both of our boards to understand. And then the DDA also manages the Arts Commission budget because I am the staff liaison with Heather being our commissioner on that. So we'll go over that budget as well. So first, the 3 funds. The DDA General Fund, or the Administrative Fund is sometimes called, this is funded by a 2 mil levy, and that tax is paid only by property owners in the DDA district. Then there is the TIF 97 fund. This is not a tax. This is captured from the growth in taxable property value within the TIF 97 district. It only captures from the TIF 97 district, and it can only be spent on public infrastructure and services in the TIF 97 district. Same goes for the Old Town TIF fund. It's captured the same way, captured only in that district, and can only be spent in that district. The map shows the TIF 97 district and the Old Town TIF district, and those make up the DDA district entirely. There's no DDA part outside of those districts. This is just our overview of the general fund, with the overview on the left, and then the revenue in the green and the expenditures in the red. And the pie chart shows the way that you all are used to seeing the city budget in the city system. So grants make up the majority of the general fund's revenue, with the next biggest revenue source being from the TIF 97 and Old Town TIF administrative fees, as well as a reimbursement from the Downtown Traverse City Association, which is the Downtown Merchant Association nonprofit that we partner with. The 2 mil levy brings in just over $125,000. It's projected this year, so just 5% of the DDA General Fund. We also collect booth fees and food assistance program reimbursements for the Sarah Hardy Farmers Market. That counts as revenue in the general fund budget. So zooming in on those grants that make up the majority of this budget, we have 3 grants that we are awarded at the moment. The first is from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association. That is actually a grant that was awarded to the tribe, and we are a subrecipient of it for restoration of the Boardman Ottaway River. That's a multi-year grant, so it's expected that work will continue over the course of several years. We're currently in year 1 and work has begun, so we have been working with partners on that and started spending down that grant. We've also received a local grant from Rotary Charities. That was a $1 million total grant to support the development of Rotary Square, which all of you have learned a lot about in the process. We have more than the $258,000 that is budgeted still available of that $1 million grant. It's just not budgeted in the next fiscal year. And then lastly, we have the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy grant. That was awarded several years ago for cleanup of the West End for the environmental damage that is on those properties. That grant is actually going to be expiring soon, and now that there has been movement on the West End to make progress on those properties, we have been working with the state about a potential extension so that we're able to use that grant. Just a note about those grants. So all 3 of them are reimbursement grants, meaning the DDA does not receive a lump sum amount to spend that we can just take in and sit on. The grant revenue does not come in until we've already made the expenditures. So you'll see in the budget the numbers line up exactly because it creates a net zero representing the reimbursement there. So that can kind of skew the numbers of the general fund and make it difficult to understand. So a clearer picture of the general fund can be created if you exclude the grant dollars. So you'll see at the bottom there with the exclusion, the revenue is just over $1 million without the grants, and the expenditures are actually under $1 million. So the DDA general fund expenditures, again, the grants make up the majority of the expenditures, and the rest mainly just covers overhead is what the general fund is used for. That's staff, IT, accounting, audits, reviews, legal, office supplies, and then our reimbursements for the food assistance programs are also administered via the DDA general fund before they get paid out to the Sarah Hardy Farmers Market vendors. Moving on to the TIF 97 and Old Town TIF budgets. These budgets are structured the same exact way. The only differences really are in the dollars amount and the district-specific projects or needs. The Old Town TIF collects or captures significantly less, so you'll see that those numbers are different. We organize these budgets in sort of 4 different categories: running downtown, building and maintaining downtown, transforming downtown, and activating downtown and growing business. This colorful sheet that you see here on this page is how we organize and sort of break down each of those for the DDA board. It's on page 50 of the packet if you want to take a closer look at that or reference it throughout this. So the first category is running downtown. We have TIF 97 on the left and Old Town TIF on the right. These are just all the administrative costs that come with running the DDA and running downtown. So that consists of transfers from both funds to the general fund for administration. There's transfers from both funds to the city for our service agreement. And that also includes utilities. So the DDA pays for the lamps and the light posts, the street lights downtown, to make sure that downtown is lit at night and we have holiday lights. So those meters come to us, and that's through the general fund. Activating downtown and growing business is the next category. This is everything that it takes to get people downtown and shopping and spending money and spending time in our beautiful downtown. So that would be marketing and advertising for events, communication and promotion of those events, partnership with the Downtown Traverse City Association and our Traverse Connect membership. You can see from the pie chart there that this is a very small portion of our budget, less than 2% of each of the TIF budgets. Building and maintaining downtown, this is the largest category that we spend on. This is the essential infrastructures and services, sort of the basics that we talk about. That includes general maintenance and repair, district-specific repairs, and we'll talk a little bit more about what those are this year. Our contracted services, which includes the trash pickup, our clean and green teams that clean up downtown, the holiday lights, our public service or our public restroom program, and district-specific services as well. So the farmers market is an example. We also have a line in this section that is a contribution to city infrastructure projects. We know that inevitably there will always be projects that come up throughout the year that are unexpected, and some of them will be in the TIF districts. And so we put money aside in advance to be prepared for when those projects come up and the city comes to us needing additional funds, that we have the money ready and available. Transforming downtown is the next category. This is the transformational infrastructure and services that transform the look and feel of downtown. That would include our mobility improvements for pedestrians and cyclists, all of our green programs like our downtown composting program and our public transit partnership with Beta, as well as major district-specific projects and studies. This year we've included funding for a retail study to study the effects of the changing dynamics of real estate and costs of owning a business in expensive places to own property, and as well as a contribution to the city stormwater study that the city will be leading. So breaking down the TIF 97 infrastructure, this includes both the essential and transformational infrastructure. Makes up the capital outlay category that you'll see in the pie chart or in ClearGov. This also includes the Hardy parking deck bond payment. So you'll see that that is the majority of the TIF 97 budget. Zooming in on some of the more expensive or larger projects in the TIF 97 infrastructure budget, we have the stormwater and green infrastructure line. That is $110,000 to contribute to the larger city-led stormwater repairs at Lot B. That is funding that will be rolling over from our current year budget to next year's budget, and that was included in the motion that you all passed last week for Lot B and the pavilion. There's also funding in the budget for the North Union Street Bridge repair. Again, that's a contribution to a larger city-led project for repairs to the bridge. That funding will also be rolling over from this year's budget to next. There's also funding in the budget for the two-way pilot. This is enough funding to implement all of the recommended improvements to switch two-way on State Street to permanency, and that includes funding for the design of any of those changes that are necessary. There's funding in this year's budget, excuse me, for Rotary Square. That funding will cover any design specifications and or construction documents in the new fiscal year. The plan at the moment is to go to bid in the fall of 2026 and start construction in spring of 2027, which would mean the total cost of building Rotary Square would overlap between the upcoming fiscal year and the following. There's funding in this budget for the Farmers Market Pavilion. That is enough funding to cover the construction and construction management of the pavilion and to fully fund and build it in this upcoming fiscal year. There is approximately $2.7 million in our current year budget that will roll over into next year's budget to go towards this project. So the majority of the funding was already budgeted. This also was included in the motion that was passed by you all last week. And there is funding for the Boardman Ottaway Restoration and Infrastructure. This $400,000 would be enough to complete the construction documents for this project. So that would be the third of our major TIF 97 projects. Moving on to the Old Town TIF infrastructure, again, just like the TIF 97, the essential public infrastructure and the transformative public infrastructure makes up capital outlay in the budget, and that is the majority of the Old Town TIF budget. Zooming in on some of the specifics, we have money in this budget for the Carnegie building repairs. This is a contribution to larger city-led repairs. City came to us and made us aware that the costs to repair the Carnegie building will be extensive, and so we put an estimated amount of what we believe could go towards that project. There was not a specific number asked, so we have $25,000. Additionally, the Union and 7th intersection is in the Old Town TIF budget. This is a contribution to a larger city-led project in spring of 2027. This is a major investment for Old Town. That's more than half of the expected revenue for next year for Old Town, $700,000. As we said, Old Town TIF collects or captures significantly less than TIF 97, and so the way that we get projects done in this TIF, it tends to be that we have to save up for several years in order to afford to complete a major infrastructure project. There's also funding for the River's Edge Riverwalk in the budget. This is a contribution to a larger project that's in partnership with Fish Pass. That funding will be rolling over from a current year budget to next. And then these next few slides just go over the services that we've already talked about, the community police officer, trash removal, public restroom. It just shows the breakdown of how the services fall into the total budget for Old Town TIF, as well as TIF 97 here. And this slide is for the Arts Commission. As we said, I am the staff liaison for the Arts Commission, so we also administer their budget. They have put together a comprehensive budget this year that includes funding for the 2027 Mural Festival, as well as a gateway sculpture for the North Boardman District, a new program that they're developing that they're calling Arts in the Park, which would be in-person performance art in public parks. There's funding for the West Front barrier or traffic calming, which you all took action on last year, I believe, to address the West Front traffic calming area. The Paint It Forward grant program, the temporary exhibit space on the TART trail, as well as basic communications and maintenance costs for a request of city transfer for $80,000 total. And that is all I have.
Do we have questions? Jackie, go ahead. I waited for you to finish writing your notes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that you've kind of sliced and diced, so we have a lot of detail. Would it also be possible to just have a consolidated income and expense statement for your three major funds so that we can sort of get an executive level look at that? I think that would be really helpful.
We are in the budget book, right? So we already have that in the budget book. We just, because we do a separate presentation and we zoom in a little bit on some of the projects that we know that you all have questions on. So when you see the total budget book, the DDA is in there in that way of all three funds having the total revenue and expenditures. But it won't be in Heidi's presentation because we are doing or whoever is presenting the next one, because we present separately. So that is in the total budget book.
Wonderful. And then I was also interested in whether, is there a sort of an analysis of the fund balances for each of your three major funds?
That is also included in the budget book.
Thank you.
Other questions right now?
Did you have any, raising my hand, sorry. Did you have any thoughts about moving up the Fish Pass overlook at all? We kind of found ourselves in a situation where there's a real need for some infrastructure improvement after the hillside kind of swallowed parking lot K.
Yeah.
So it seemed like that would be a really easy reach that could be easily supported, but I just wondered, was there any discussion on that when you were putting this together?
The Army Corps is going to fix that.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think we've actually had conversations with Fish Pass folks about ways that we can collaborate with the city to maybe address that hillside before actually the Rotary Square project begins. That, again, is not scheduled to start until the spring of next year. However, the maintenance of that parking lot as it exists today is very important, and we also need it because we're going to, once the pavilion starts, we're moving the farmers market to Rotary Square. So the fix on that parking lot is going to be essential to making the summer work efficiently. So I think there's opportunities for those conversations, but that's a conversation between the DDA, the city, and the Fish Commission.
Yeah.
Additionally, I just wanted to add that the funding for the Riverwalk, so the one that I pointed out specifically as a partnership with Fish Pass, that is a separate project. That is not the same area.
It's on is it in Old Town because it's on the other side of the river?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Just the only other thing, thanks for thinking about the Carnegie Building. I know it's one of those discussions that we had about like how we contribute in different ways, and I appreciate, I felt heard, so when I saw that, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Other questions? All right.
Thank you.
All right, Heidi Sheppy, our City Treasurer Finance Director, is going to join me up here. Thank you, Heidi. Let me make sure this is working. It is awesome. Thanks, Sarah. So I just want to say what an honor it is for me to present the first budget that I'm presenting as City Manager for Traverse City. I want to thank Heidi Sheppy, our City Treasurer Finance Director, someone many of you don't see very often. He doesn't love attention, but Brian Postma is sitting out in the audience, and he is a miraculous accounting professional, and he serves as our financial analyst. And Brian, I greatly appreciate your partnership through this. I want to also thank Colleen Pavelio, our Director of Communications and Strategic Initiatives, for her work in ensuring that we're moving forward with the OKRs and all of the department director leadership team. And so I also wanted to acknowledge that I received a number of questions from the city commissioners in writing, 52 of them in total, and I submitted a memo electronically to the commission today with those responses. They are published. That memo is published on the city's website under that budget page, so folks can see all of those questions. And I just want to ground us in the fact that this budget reflects a continued commitment to transparency, commitment to our strategic action plan. It's community-centered, and it aligns our financial resources with core services, infrastructure needs, and community priorities. And it also reflects a broader organizational focus this year, and for the first time ever in Traverse City's history, it is informed substantially by the city's first ever strategic action plan, which was developed based on robust community input. I believe we had over 1,300 responses, for instance, to surveys that informed that strategic action plan. And so with that, our budget framework is designed to align financial resources, as I said, with core services, infrastructure, community priorities, while balancing service delivery with long-term sustainability. And it's important to note this isn't a standalone document. It's integrated with a capital improvement plan, the objectives and key results work plan, and ongoing audit and financial review processes. And this structure, which is on the screen, ensures accountability and alignment across all areas of city operations, and it supports directly the implementation of the strategic action plan through measurable outcomes. This slide highlights general fund expenditures. As shown, nearly 50% of the general fund expenditures are dedicated to public safety, including police and fire. That is typical for municipal budgets. This next slide identifies revenue and expenditure trends, and it reflects the city's ongoing commitment to emergency response, community safety, and essential service delivery, which remains the foundation of our operations. For just to drive it home, the city's reason for existing is to provide for public health, safety, and welfare. We have taken a conservative approach when budgeting revenues, and departments have consistently done a strong job in managing expenditures within their approved budgets. One important factor to note is that we are required to budget for all approved positions. However, there's usually some lag time in filling those. So that has an impact as that lag's normally historically a little bit behind and results in year-end savings and an increase in our fund balance. Also in this budget, we've taken a more proactive approach by quantifying anticipated savings and unfilled positions and incorporating that into our projections. This goal is to better align our budgeted expenditures with spending, actual spending, I should say, and reduce structural growth in our fund balance. And it's also important to note that this budget reflects the planned hiring of fire personnel. The goal is to have those positions, this is all for the ALS service that was approved by voters, is a millage in 2023. We expect to have all those positions filled within this fiscal year. But this budget reflects all of them being filled by July 1st, so those expenditures will come in below budget. I want to talk a little bit about personnel cost pressures. Personnel costs remain the largest expenditure across all funds, totaling $30.5 million. It is very typical that personnel costs make up at least 80% of municipal budgets because we are service providers. Like many municipalities, we continue to face a highly competitive labor market, along with recruitment and retention challenges. And as Commissioner Bomer referenced earlier, of course, this is a very expensive community and area within which to live. We're anticipating upcoming retirements, which will require proactive workforce planning. You may have noticed on the goals page for the city manager's department that I will be working on a strategy closely with our human resources director and all department directors on a organization-wide workforce retention and strategy for the fact that we need to plan for a significant amount of succession planning, because roughly 1/3 of the city's workforce is eligible to retire within the next few years. In our public safety departments, it's about 1/3. That's substantial and something that we're going to work to plan for strategically, and I intend on engaging a consultant to assist us with that work. For instance, to also take a look at our benefits that we're offering going forward to make sure they're strategic. Are they the benefits that today's workforce is really looking for? In other words, is it the best bang for our benefit buck? I also wanted to mention that a recent news media article articulated that in 2016, the city had 152 full-time employees, and that there's now 198.5. The reason for that, largely, is because we have 14, for instance, employees in parking services that used to all be DDA employees. Those were absorbed into the city's budget. And then also the voters approved in 2023 a millage to provide for ALS services. So a lot of those ads are because of ALS service providers. And then also our police department has added 2 social workers to the police department that are largely funded by grant dollars. And then the additional ads to the police department just brought us back to where we were right around 2007, 2008. So that maybe sounded more dramatic than it really is with that context. I wanted to provide that important context for the commission and the community. Also, this next slide talks about financial discipline. There are no new positions requested this year. I have reallocated some FTEs that have left or are leaving to other departments. For instance, there is one being repurposed to go to the Parks and Recreation Department, and another that is going to the Communications and Strategic Initiatives Department. I will continue to look across the organization as we have attrition to see if we need to replace that FTE or reallocate it somewhere else or just not fill it. That's something that we will continue to look at. But again, there are no new positions recommended for this year, and I've worked to reallocate existing FTE headcount in other places of the organization that's aligned with our strategic priorities. We're also making targeted use of our fund balance in this past, or the fiscal year that we're in right now. We're projecting a $1.6 million use of that, which included a $1.2 million pension contribution supporting the state's corrective action plan and a $500,000 transfer to the Budget Stabilization Fund. And without these strategic investments, the budget would have been close to break even. For this upcoming fiscal year, we're budgeting a $1.5 million use of the fund balance, including an additional $500,000 transfer to support cash reserves for cash flow purposes. And looking ahead, the fund balance is projected to decline over time, but those projections are continuing to be refined. And of course, in September, the City Commission will be establishing an ad hoc committee consisting of 3 members of the City Commission, myself, and the City Treasurer to look at the city's fund balance policy, funding and fiscal pressures we're seeing on the horizon, including substantial facility needs, rising employment costs, and also our pension obligations. And so we're going to look at that through a more holistic lens. And so overall, we have a stable financial position with intentional investments, and I'm going to continue, we both are, Ms. Sheppy and I, to caution around long-term costs, particularly adding additional personnel, because those are, create legacy costs, of course. So for financial governance and long-term planning, I already mentioned the ad hoc committee and the focus of their work. And I will say initial observations that we're seeing and concluding initially indicate the need for a more defined and sustainable financial framework. And as we advance strategic action plan priorities and identify additional funding sources, it'll be critical to balancing those operations. I do want to highlight that I am taking a much more aggressive approach to building relationships with our federal congressional delegation and their staff, as well as members of the state legislature and their staffs, and we're already starting to see some pretty substantial financial return on that, and I'm expecting that to go up by millions of dollars in the years to come. So we will continue to invest in those relationships and keep those communication channels alive. And then when it comes to core services and infrastructure, this budget continues to prioritize core infrastructure and major infrastructure systems, which are obligations we have to invest in to serve our residents and our environment and our climate. The millions, tens of millions of dollars that the City Commission has authorized over the last few years in infrastructure are not real exciting investments because people don't really get to see them, but it's the unseen stuff that matters when things get rough. And on June 8th, we will have a study session celebrating the success of our infrastructure. And there are, I can tell you that if we hadn't, for instance, removed the old Union Street Dam, our expert engineers have advised that there would have been hundreds of millions of dollars of damage to downtown Traverse City. We also will talk on June 8th about the infrastructure investments that kept hundreds of millions of dollars of sewage from overflowing into our bay. And so these are really important investments that we'll continue with. They include things like streets, utilities, stormwater systems, and public safety, and they will ensure reliability, regulatory compliance, and uninterrupted service delivery. A significant portion of funding is directed toward transportation and mobility systems with key projects like North Union Street Bridge repair and wastewater system improvements. And underlying all of this is a comprehensive asset management approach, which allows us to extend the life of our investments and protect that investment and reduce risk and avoid more costly repairs in the future. I'll talk briefly about strategic alignment. As I mentioned, this budget represents the first full implementation cycle of the Strategic Action Plan and the objectives and key results and the OKR work plan, which was adopted just in March of this year by the City Commission. A central goal is to implement that plan through my work plan, the city manager's work plan, and ensuring alignment across departments and measurable progress toward commission priorities. We are going to be implementing a department director evaluation platform that will then also provide a framework for department level work plans where we will measure the progress of implementation, and you will be seeing the first quarterly update on that in June led by Ms. Pavelio. And so the next pillar I want to talk, or pillar one I should say, is urban design and mobility. We have 6 pillars. I'll walk briefly through each of them and how this budget aligns with those. This focuses on managing urban design and mobility, and key investments include complete streets funding, 1% of your general fund allocation for that, the Union and 7th Street intersections, which include mobility improvements, 7th Street design work, and the 16th and Cass Crossing, which is a project on the Brown Bridge Trust Fund project list. And these projects support safe, efficient mobility while integrating infrastructure projects and long-term planning. Pillar 2 is all about placemaking and neighborhood character, and investments include the new tennis and pickleball courts at Slab Town Corners, Rotary Square and the Farmers Market, the East Side Placemaking Project, the TC Vibes Council, and the Sidewalk Gap infill on Garfield. And those projects support vibrant spaces that reinforce community identity and quality of life. Pillar 3 emphasizes regional collaboration. This includes stormwater compliance, watershed coordination, and I am meeting with the director of the Watershed Center to talk more about how the city can partner with the Watershed Center, and I'm looking forward to that conversation. Additional tools for implementation of the Strategic Action Plan and OKRs in partnerships with regional and state agencies. And a key priority within this pillar is reinvigorating efforts to establish a stormwater management process or framework, which will be critical to long-term system sustainability and compliance. And these efforts reflect the importance of managing shared systems and advancing regional solutions. Pillar 4 is about creating a complete community, and this includes housing and homelessness investments and the CDBG supported programs, advancing the strategy for the Coalition to End Homelessness, upon whose leadership team I serve, is a key priority this year, and I have recommended for the first time a 1% general fund appropriation for homelessness efforts, and we are going to work on a policy with experts that leverage that funding to hopefully bring more partners to the table and address that ongoing concern strategically. And then next pillar is support environmental sustainability and also resilience, and investments include stormwater system improvements, composting programs, wastewater system modernization, and green infrastructure integration, and these projects support water quality, climate adaptation, and strengthen long-term system resilience. And the last pillar, pillar 6, is about building a thriving year-round economy, and this includes parking system improvements, our partnership with Traverse Connect, downtown infrastructure investments, economic development partnerships, and marina enhancements. And these efforts support economic vitality, improve access, and strengthen year-round activity in the community. Some key takeaways and next steps. This is my last slide. In closing, the budget reflects, in my professional opinion, a balanced approach, maintaining strong core services while advancing strategic investments. And while balanced to outcomes, it also requires use of the general fund balance. City remains in a stable financial position with intentional use, as I had already said, of the fund balance to support long-term priorities. But at the same time, I just want to reiterate that we are recognizing ongoing cost pressures will require continued discipline, identification of funding sources, and careful planning. And as we look ahead, key next steps as we look toward process improvements and building in more time for strategic budgeting decisions. We're going to revamp our internal process to include internal capital improvement plan discussions starting in June, so several months sooner than that's ever been done before. Internal budget timing discussions in August, and convening the City Commission, City Manager, and Finance Director ad hoc committee review in September. And the city will continue advancing key organizational priorities this year, including, as I had said, the development of a long-range workforce strategy, evaluation frameworks for department directors, and continued organizational transformation focused on collaboration, accountability, and continuous improvement. And that's all that I've got. Thank you for listening.
All right.
I'm happy to answer any
Floor is
questions,
yours,
though Ms.
guys.
Sheffy will probably be best equipped for those.
All right, go ahead, Heather.
I have a great big question.
All right.
Can we get more money to Parks and Rec for maintenance? Parks and Rec gets $66,000 for maintenance and repair, and that's for all 1,687 acres of our parks, beaches, urban forests, facilities work, snow removal at multiple buildings, 26 parking lots, 8 bridges, medians, the swales like that are going in over in Slabtown and went in last year. As comparison, Brown Bridge, which is 1,310 acres, is much better protected as a dedicated maintenance system of $96,000 a year. Of course, that comes from Brown Bridge Maintenance Fund, which is funded through cell tower leases. Which begs the question, where is Parks and Rec getting its maintenance money? Well, they get $2,326,000 from the general fund, but less than 3% of that is going towards maintenance. Last year it was under the amount that was used for office supplies. This year it is a little bit higher than office supplies. This year and for the next 5 years, project funds are coming from the Brown Bridge Trust Fund, which is a zero coming from the general fund. And those include shoreline stabilization, mountain bike trails, trail and trailhead expansion, and lots more trash cans and picnic tables, et cetera, et cetera. But you can't keep building and adding more stuff without budgeting for additional maintenance. and Rec is already having trouble keeping up. They've been having trouble keeping up for a while. The department description that's in the actual big budget document confirms that park staff are doing a very broad workload and expenses are rising. Better maintenance investment, I think, is good long-term planning. Therefore, I would like to propose a 1% allocation from the general fund for park maintenance. Clean, accessible parks are the beating heart of our healthy ecology, and that's for both the environment and the humans. Our parks are built-in, ready-made places we already have for placemaking. Not only do they deserve more attention, but that attention is critical to public perception that Traverse City is a wonderful place to live, work, and visit. We can afford this. We must afford this. I realize as your eyes roll back in your head.
I did not. My eyes did not roll.
And maybe this is, I know that you can amend the budget at any time, and this is not the time. And maybe this is a discussion for September when we talk about the fund balance. But I've been battling this for 3 years now, and I just want to get it out there so that everybody's aware that parks need more maintenance budget.
I appreciate the point you made, and I do think it would be best for us to wait for that, for the ad hoc in September, if you will. And then I also want to say that we're identifying that we have long built things and not budgeted as much as we should for asset management, essentially. And so I hear you loud and clear, and we will definitely be taking a look at that. But for some context, the budget that you see today, with the general fund budget alone, which is about $27 million, I've already shaved $5 million off of the requests, just for some context. And so I totally hear you. I think it's an absolutely valid point, and we need to develop a longer-term strategy.
They need more money than they spend on office supplies.
Agreed, yes.
So we're, to Heather's point, are we kind of adding that to the ad hoc discussion, even if it's not the main point, that will be something that will be brought back as part of that discussion, as where that fits in the picture? Okay, great.
Yep.
I love that. Thank you, Heather. Other questions, comments? Go ahead, Jackie.
I need to congratulate all of you for the progress made on aligning our budget and our strategic plan. I think that's a really exciting step forward. And to that point, I wondered if it is possible to just give all of us some perspective on how much of our funding is being spent on core services and the business of governing compared to the projects that support the pillars.
That's something that I think we can provide for you relatively quickly, not tonight, but yes, definitely in time for budget adoption.
Great,
Yep.
thank
Great,
you.
yes.
Other questions right now? Or requests?
I have another big comment, but you want to hear me again?
We love you, Heather. Go ahead.
Don't hold back.
Okay, well, this one is about, it's a comment and suggestion regarding the brief history of Traverse City that's on page 7. It is very brief. And in particular, it's the sentence that ends, "Ann Perry Hanna is now widely regarded as the founding father of Traverse City." So the indigenous Americans were here for thousands of years before Europeans arrived. And who's to say what the word founding means to the indigenous, or what Traverse City meant to their history and culture? The arrival of the Europeans was so incredibly devastating to the indigenous population that it blows my mind, and I'm going to blow your mind too. In the U.S., there were 4.5 million indigenous people. I mean, this is obviously, they didn't really know, but this is 4.5 million indigenous people in 1500, and by 1890, with the defeat of Wounded Knee, there were only 500,000. Mexico, which is also part of the Americas, it was much worse and much faster. They had 21 million people in 1519, and 100 years later, they had 1 million. That is a 95% reduction in population. 95% of the people were dead. Here, there was an indigenous encampment at the mouth of the Boardman, Odawa, when Boardman himself sailed into the bay. Was that a founding? Yeah. And remember, by that time, 89% of their population was dead. The French gave Traverse City its name. Is that a founding? Perry Hanna was pretty enlightened as far as industrialists and developers go, but what makes his contribution greater than these others that preceded him? I'm happy to acknowledge what's gone on here over the last 179 years, but Perry Hanna's role in the city's modern commercial development is just part of that history. So I find it actually disrespectful to elevate one relatively recent figure to founding father status in a place that has already been inhabited, named, traveled, remembered, and is culturally significant for thousands of years before European settlement. We simply do not know the stories that were told about this place, what this bay and this river meant to the hundreds of generations of people who lived here before us. And that history deserves humility from us, not a declaration that the city somehow began only when Europeans arrived and industrialized it. Removing that phrase, and that's all I'm asking, just that phrase right at the end, does not diminish Perry Hanna or his contribution. It simply acknowledges that the history of this place is far older, deeper, and more complex than the traditional settler narrative allows.
I thank you for that, Heather, and I would add to that as well, as to their context, is we recently had a milestone anniversary for Traverse City Synagogue, which is the longest continuously operating synagogue in the state of Michigan. That is, and establishes that is older than the foundation of the city of Traverse City itself, too. So we do have a deep
Thanks to
history
Perry
that,
Hanna.
yes,
Consider your request done.
yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Mitch, and then Laura.
Yeah, I'll actually push back on that and stand up for the legacy of Perry Hanna, as the name Traverse City was not given by the French. It was given by the U.S. Postal Service on an application submitted by Albert Tracy Lay in 1854 as a representative of the Hanna and Lay Company, in which Lay was second to Hanna. Hanna was the primary landowner of this area, starting in 1851 when he bought out Harry Boardman's interests. It was Perry Hanna's development that got a permanent settlement at this location. Yes, people have lived here. We are sitting in a building that is at the exact location of prehistoric mounds built by Native Americans that had since been leveled, and now here we are. But it wasn't a city. This was actually in one of the smaller settlements along the Grand Traverse Bay area. Old Mission, Omina, Shabbytown area, Norwood, Northville, Elk Rapids were all larger settlements than what is now Traverse City. And it was not called Traverse City. It was called Wekatongsing. If you want to go by the French, yes, La Grande Traverse, but that refers to the mouth of the bay, not here at the head. If it wasn't for the work of Perry Hanna, we wouldn't have had the industrial development that resulted in, yes, the lumbering of this land, but also the building of Front Street as we know it today, the development of the first department store north of Grand Rapids, the development of railroads to northern Michigan that set Traverse City on its course to be the largest city in northern Michigan since 1890. Also, he got the state hospital here, which for decades was the state's largest employer. Traverse City would not exist in name, size, or form without the legacy of Perry Hanna, he is unequivocally the founder of this town.
So, hold on. I want to,
I have just one thing to say. Please,
Heather.
Mitch, just read page 7. It totally acknowledges Perry Hanna and Harry Boardman and all that happened here when the Europeans arrived. It's just removing the founding father part.
fair. Laura, you had next, and then Ken.
While I appreciate Commissioner Shaw and Commissioner Treadwell's reflections on our complex and very interesting history, I'm going to bring the conversation back to the budget. So I'd also like to thank staff for their work on this multi-year budget and for aligning the budget with our strategic priorities. I think that's a really important and exciting step for the city. But first and foremost, what I appreciate about this budget is that we're not shying away from some very difficult conversations. And as Ben said, we need a defined and sustainable financial framework. In fact, this budget clearly acknowledges that as a city, we're entering a period of significant long-term challenges, and those are driven by structural gaps in our financial model. And those include continued personnel cost pressures and increasing pension obligations. I look forward to the City Commission starting this ad hoc committee. 1/3 of the workforce eligible for retirement in the next few years, that's a significant statistic. Our EMS ambulance service, we have operating gaps and facility needs that weren't included in the 2023 millage. We have major core infrastructure investments, some of which were deferred, and capital demands. Those are exciting, but they're expensive. Unknown future of TIF 97 and what that means for our general fund. The policy approach to affect housing and homelessness here, and the strategic drawdown of our fund balance. So this transition budget, I feel like it's a transition budget, really requires us to have more transformational thinking, more proactive decision-making, and a more regional approach to solving these regional problems. We can't do this all as our little city. What we cannot do is spend more money than we have. So I look forward to staying focused on our history, but also on the numbers in front of us and on the governance and the policy framework that we need to guide the city through the next decade of financial and operational change while staying grounded in our obligation to be good stewards to our taxpayers. So I look forward to these ongoing conversations. I don't think it's going to be an easy next couple of years for the city given these structural deficits.
Ken?
Benjamin, thank you for putting this together. If you ask someone what their values are, a budget is representative of that. So you addressed a lot of the important things that we have all spoken individually about as commissioners, while addressing the core needs of the service of being in government. So thank you for that. You were the person that we picked to do this job, and this looks fantastic, and I'm really excited to see you put it to work. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I'm going to join in the chorus of thank yous to you, Benjamin, but the staff for having the vision. I remember a few years ago when we had interim city manager Nate Geinzer, who warned us about the coming retirement wave. We've had different trickles of it, these kind of conversations. I won't even say we haven't had conversations. We had trickles of these things mentioned, but they've never brought to the fore. And this budget is the first time I've seen these big conversations brought to the forefront, as well as our obligations and our aspirations, which I think are represented with our OKRs and our strategic planning. So I'm very, very happy and proud that we have this budget that we get to sit with. I think it's been mentioned, but this is a great start, and the future, well, I'll be honest, we're lucky that this one doesn't have quite as many hard choices in it, but those choices are coming. We'll have the ad hoc working on that in the fall. And I think that it's a good way to position ourselves as we're not sitting here passing a budget and then tra-la-lying into next year and facing the same financial squeezes and difficult conversations. It's a start of a conversation that will fund us and get us through the next year. And I think it's a good position for us to be in. And as we do look out and to our regional neighbors, I think we've got the goal of working more cooperative with our regional neighbors, but also we've got our budget here that shows that we can't bear it all ourselves. We already help carry the millages that pass in the county themselves that they operate off of. We pay our taxes to them. We need some of that support back from our regional partners, and we have now a good roadmap that shows where we're heading and what our goals are. And as you mentioned at one point in your presentation, where we can bring others along with us. And I think that's another key component too. So go ahead, Heather.
I also want to thank you. I've seen a lot of budgets, and this one was, remember the ones that came on paper? That were like,
Yes.
this was the easiest one for me to follow along and understand. And I also looked at the CIP. I don't think I've ever seen the projects rated before. Have I seen that rate? No. I thought that was great. And then I could reference it in the CIP and find out, like, why aren't we replacing the PARC, you know, those things in the parking lot? You know, why aren't we doing it? And I could figure out why it wasn't happening this year. It was great. It was really great work. Thank you.
Agreed. Other comments? Well, that's great. We'll have our public hearing next week on this. And I believe that takes us through. So now we have study session public comment. Does anybody have any general public comment right now? All right, you did that good of a job, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, and then any other comments from commissioners? All right, with that, we're getting in at 9. We've had a very long night, so with that, I will adjourn, and we can all maybe get some daylight still. It's staying later.
About half an hour. Not enough time for me to hit the road.